We're going to talk about Roth IRA and all things Roth IRA. There's been a lot of talk about various strategies associated with the Roth IRA, and we kind of want to go through those, talk a little bit about where they make sense, where they may not make some sense, and who they make sense for. With me today, as always, I have Brittany Rogerson, our Business Development Director. Thanks, Brittany, for everything you're doing behind the scenes, making this look good and professional. And Max Ripperger. Max has been with the firm for a number of years now. Max is a full-fledged financial advisor. He's also my associate portfolio manager, helps me with all things in developing our portfolios and actually does all of the work in putting together our portfolio. So Max, good morning and welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So the Roth IRA, it has been around for a while. It has not been around as long as the traditional traditional IRA, but let's talk just a little bit about basics so we understand exactly what it is and how it was started. Max, can you kind of cover that for us?
Yeah, so a little history. So the Roth IRA, it was named after Senator William Roth, who sponsored the legislation, and they were introduced in 1997 as part of the Taxpayer Relief Act. Roth accounts, they're designed to provide taxpayers with a tax-free source of income during retirement. And over time, they've gained their popularity due to their tax advantages, their flexibility, and also potential estate planning benefits. Now, the big difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA is that once a Roth is taxed from the contributions put in, any gain over time is not taxed when you go to take the distributions out.
So, and that right there in lies the single biggest deviation from all other retirement plans prior to the creation of the Roth IRA, and that is the ability to not only grow tax money tax deferred, which is the case with a lot of retirement plans, but it's the ability to take that money out on a tax-free basis. And that really, without overemphasizing, that is a game changer and represents a very drastic difference from all other retirement plan opportunities. Now, just like everything with the IRS and with the government, things are not all just rosy. We can, unlimited. There are some caveats. There are some limitations to the traditional Roth IRA. Max, can you kind of cover what those limitations are and talk a little bit about who is able to contribute to those?
Yeah, so for the personal Roth IRA and IRA, the contribution limits for 2024 are $7,000 if you're under the age of 50. And if you're above the age of 50, you can actually do a catch-up contribution, and this amounts $1,000. So that brings you to 8,000 total. Please note, though, you may not contribute the maximum amount to each an IRA and a Roth IRA. So, for example, you can contribute $3,500 to a Roth and $3,500 to an IRA and be perfectly fine. Now with the Roth IRA, there's income limits when contributing. The income limits based off your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI for short, and it has a phase out period. So what a phase out period is as your income at a certain level, the contribution limit you're allowed to contribute lowers over time. So for single filers, this phase out period starts at $147,500, and for married filing jointly, it is $231,000. And once you reach $161,000 for single filers and $240,000 for married filing jointly, then you may not contribute to a Roth at all, which means you have to defer to a Roth conversion.
Perfect. And also, just to be clear, there is a minimum side of the qualifications for earned income. So you must have earned income in order to be able to contribute to a Roth IRA. So for example, if I have $3,000 of earned income, then I am able to contribute 100% of my earned income, that $3,000. So if I make up to $7,000, I can contribute 100% of my earned income. And thereafter, it's the 7,000 up to those income upper end limits that Max talked about. to be clear, because a lot of times I'll have some of you that are retired asking about making contributions to the Roth IRA, and pensions, Social Security, capital gains, investments, these things do not count as earned income, and so therefore you would not be able to make those contributions. Okay, so with the contributions to the Roth, up until really just less than 20 years ago, that was our only ability to contribute to a Roth, was whatever those IRA limits were each year. But there has been a creation in 2006 of the Roth 401k. So just like an employer's traditional 401k plan, they began to have the opportunity to allow employees to contribute from their paychecks to a Roth 401k. All aspects of the account are just like the traditional 401k. Eligibility, qualification points, investment options, loan options, all of these things are the same. The only key difference here is that the money is going in after tax, growing tax deferred, and again, the ability to pull that money out at retirement on a tax-free basis. So this created an opportunity, or creates an opportunity, for people to be able to put a significant amount of money away into their 401k on this tax-free basis. Now, there are some limitations here as well, but the limitations are much higher. Max, can you kind of cover what those limits are?
Yes, so for 2024, the contribution limits to 401ks are $23,000 if you're under the age of 50. And again, if you're over the age of 50, you can do a catch-up contribution. But for 401ks, it's an extra 7,500, bringing the total to 30,500. And the same rules apply where you cannot contribute that 23,000 or 30,500 to each a Roth and a traditional. You can split it up, but you can't exceed that limit.
Perfect. And so now that we've kind of covered the basics of the traditional Roth and the 401k Roth, the question that oftentimes comes up is Roth or traditional, Roth 401k or traditional 401k. And the answer of which one makes the most sense is largely based on a person's individual or a family's individual situation. So, Max, you're 23 years old, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You're not in your peak earning years yet. You've got, 40 years to go before retirement. The opportunity for you to forego the tax benefits of a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA makes sense. You can give up a little bit of tax savings today for the huge benefit of growing this money tax deferred, tax and taking tax-free distributions, again, 40 years down the road. There's also a really big benefit, and that's eliminating an unknown risk. And that unknown risk relates to what will the tax code look like? What will the tax rates look like in 40 years? The reality of it is we have no idea. They could be phenomenally low. They could be outrageously high. We don't know. When we put the money in the Roth IRA, all we know is that we will never pay any income tax on that if we hold it until retirement. So it eliminates that unknown. And anytime we can eliminate an unknown in a plan, that is a good thing. So, broad-based speaking, people in their 20s, people in their 30s, the Roth, whether it's traditional or in a 401k format, probably makes some good sense to consider, maybe even into your 40s. Again, it's going to depend upon your income level and things of that nature, but younger folks, generally speaking. Now, I'm going to be 55 years old this year. So, could the tax code be radically different by the time I get to retirement in, 12 years or whatever time that is? It's possible, but it's probably not quite as likely, right? It is an unknown, but it's probably not as much of an unknown. I also would look at it and say, okay, I'm in a high income tax bracket today. I really can benefit from those tax deductions now. When I get to retirement, it's likely or possible that I'll be in a lower income tax bracket because I'm not going to be earning as much in retirement. I'm not going to need as much in retirement. And so I may be paying it at a lower rate. So again, depending upon whether or not you are really in need of the tax deductions today, or whether you can forego those and truly benefit from the tax-free distributions down the road. Those are the questions that you kind of have to ask. And obviously, we're here to help you make those determinations. Now, this leads to another topic, and this is one of the strategies that has really had a ton of conversation over the last few years, and that is the backdoor Roth IRA trend, if you will, or backdoor Roth concept. Now, the nomenclature, the name backdoor, in my opinion, kind of lends itself to be as, maybe it's a little bit questionable of a plan, maybe it's a little bit of a shady type plan. So let's just be very clear here. This is absolutely 100% a legal strategy. You are following IRS code to accomplish a backdoor Roth IRA. Would you call it a loophole? I would absolutely call it a tax loophole in the current code. Will it ultimately go away? I think at some point in time it probably will. So let me walk you through this scenario. If we have income above the ability to contribute to a Roth IRA, we always have, regardless of our income, the opportunity to make a non-deductible traditional IRA contribution. So let's say that I put $7,000 in a non-deductible traditional IRA. I have the ability, just like anybody has the ability, regardless of income level, to make a conversion from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. The conversion process simply stipulates that you must pay the income tax that is due on any traditional IRA as it moves into the Roth IRA. Well, in our example of this $7,000 non-deductible traditional IRA contribution that I just made and I am now immediately going to convert, there is no tax consequence because it was non-deductible. It's not had any growth. So I am converting that $7,000 into the Roth IRA without paying any tax consequence. And I have essentially, in a backdoor method, made a Roth IRA contribution. Pretty slick, works very, very well, if that was the end of the story. Unfortunately, a lot of people are using this strategy, and I'm concerned, or we're concerned, that they're doing so without full understanding of the IRS code, and that relates to the amount of money you have in existing IRAs. Max, you want to walk through what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, so a lot of people, they come to us wanting to do a backdoor Roth IRA conversion. And what they don't realize is that if they already have an existing traditional IRA, they're going to be subject to tax based on not just the amount of money they want to convert, but also the entirety of their IRA. So a quick example, so one could contribute $7,000 right now to a non-deductible IRA and want to convert it straight to a Roth. However, they already have a traditional IRA with a value of $100,000. So this will bring the total account value to $107,000. The IRS is going to look at the total account value and determine the percent amount of the contribution that's going to be subject to the tax. So for example, if you take the $7,000 contribution and divide it by the account value of $107,000, that means the contribution is 6.5% of the total account value, meaning 93.5% could be subject to taxation.
Yeah, and that's a total unexpected tax liability, right? I mean, that's not what this backdoor Roth concept is intended to do. But Max, wait a minute. What if I take and I create a separate new IRA for just that $7,000? So over here in an ABC account, I've got a $100,000 IRA, but I specifically intentionally open up a brand new IRA and I only put the $7,000 in it.
Right. Yeah. The IRS will still look at all of your traditional IRA accounts.
So it's in the aggregate that this happens.
Right. Correct.
Yeah. So again, the backdoor Roth IRA concept can make a ton of sense, but we have to be aware that we've got this circumstance of a potential tax liability, which is exactly what we don't want to be doing. Okay, so let's now talk about, and this has come up more so recently, and I think it's a strategy that can be employed, that should be employed when the numbers add up, if you will, and that is converting your IRA dollars to Roth dollars in retirement. So let's recognize a couple things. When we talk about IRA dollars, if we were working and had a 401k for, many, many years, we move into retirement, probably a pretty good likelihood that we're converting that, or that we are rolling over that 401k into our traditional or into an IRA rollover, right? So those are the dollars that we're talking about that are sitting in our IRA that we could potentially convert to a Roth. Just like we talked about the Roth conversion as we were referring to the back door, the conversion process simply means that we're going to take and pay the tax liability on whatever dollars that we want to convert at that point in time. So let's say we retire at 65 years of age and we have materially dropped our income level because maybe we're just, again, we're not working any longer. Maybe we're living predominantly on Social Security and maybe some distributions from investments, but at the end of the day, our tax bracket is much lower. This may be a good opportunity to start carving off small amounts of our traditional IRA, getting ahead of the ultimate looming tax that is going to be coming no matter what, but getting ahead of that, paying it at a lower rate and moving into a Roth where, again, it is not going to be taxed, okay? So a couple components with this. We know that we are ultimately going to have to take money from our IRA. And this happens currently at 73 years of age. So we know if I'm retiring at 65, I know for a fact 8 years from now, I have to start taking distributions. Max, can you walk through what that process is? And obviously, you spearhead that for all of our clients here. You do these calculations. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so for the RMD, this is a required minimum distribution that you must take from your traditional IRA accounts. The amount is based off a life expectancy table, so you get a calculation factor based on your age. And to calculate the RMD, you take the fair market value from the prior year end of your traditional IRA accounts, and you'll divide that amount by your calculation factor. Now, the Secure Act 2.0 last year changed the RMD age, so it changed from 72 to 73. And then in 2033, so in 10 years, the age will go back to 75 years old. So, and one more note is that if you don't take a portion of your RMD, you'll be subject to a 25% tax penalty.
Yeah, that's not something that you ever want to incur for sure. And just to be clear, for those of you that are already our clients here at Summit, that is something that we take care of. Max looks every year to ensure that all of you are taking all of your required minimum distributions, again, in the aggregate from all of your IRA accounts, so that we never have to incur that tax penalty. So let's get back to my example. We retired at 65. So if we just sit with the money in the traditional IRA and we wait until age 73, so that's an 8-year period of time, it's quite possible that that IRA money could double between now and then. And now we are going to have to take a distribution based on these calculations that Max just talked about. This could be a pretty significant amount of money. that could do a couple of things. It could raise you a couple of tax brackets. So now all of a sudden you're paying that at a fairly significant tax rate because your IRA has ballooned to such a value. And if we pay a high enough income tax on that, or high enough income that we have, it could affect our Medicare premium payments as well. So there's a couple of gotchas with that. The third piece of this, and this is where, Max, you'd mentioned the estate planning component when we first started, and that is when we talk about the idea of ultimately leaving money in a retirement account to our beneficiaries, to the next generation. If we leave money in a traditional IRA to our beneficiaries, they have a 10-year period of time where they must deplete that account and pay ordinary income tax on those funds. So let's just say that you leave your son or daughter an IRA that has $1 million in it. They have 10 years to pull out that $1 million. So they are going to pay income tax on the full million in a 10-year period of time. Let's just use basic math and say it's $100,000 a year. They're going to take that $100,000, they're going to add it to whatever income they're already making, and they're going to pay tax on it. Chances are they're going to pay it at a fairly high rate. If, however, we're able to convert a lot of this money to a Roth IRA, if we pass a Roth IRA at death, there is no requirement ever for them to take a distribution because there is no tax consequence. The IRS doesn't care because they're not getting any money. With the traditional, that's why they care. They want their tax revenue. But when we make that conversion and we convert it at a lower income tax rate today, we grow it tax deferred, we pass it, it passes tax-free. So this is the real power behind that strategy. And just to be clear, if we make a conversion during retirement, this is not exclusively set that we all of a sudden have to pass that money, right, at our death. We absolutely can still use that money from the Roth IRA. So we're not handcuffing ourselves. We're not taking that money off the table to use, if we were to need it. So again, a strategy that I think can have a lot of merit in the right circumstances. If that's something you've got some interest in, then we'd love to have that conversation with you. Frankly, if anything that we've talked about today, you want to talk about, we'd love to engage you with a conversation on that topic. We've kind of covered everything in a relatively quick period of time here, but again, we like to keep these things kind of quick, very high level. Brittany, why don't you open it up? If we've got any questions, we'll take a question or two before we wrap this up.
Yeah, the chat is open.
All right. So this can be about any part of the Roth IRA, any concept whatsoever here. Just go ahead and type that into the chat, and then Brittany will read those off to us.
I have a question actually.
Go ahead.
I know you guys talked about limits and what your contributions can be, but what's the difference when you're married? Can you both contribute to the same one, or can you have separate and do double?
Good question. So IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. So all IRAs are registered to one single person. So those limits that Max referenced, the $7,000 for under 50 and the $8,000 over 50, those are individual single taxpayer limits. So two people then can contribute to the to the IRA, so $14,000 or $16,000.
Okay. We have a question. Any perspective on advantages or watchouts of Roth IRA versus Roth 401k?
So can you repeat that?
Yeah, any perspective on advantages or watchouts of Roth IRA versus Roth 401k?
I think the single greatest, watch, if you will, or caution is the tax rate, right? It's the amount, because you're getting zero tax benefit today for that, right? So if I'm in a 30% income tax rate and I'm within 10 15 years of retirement, I'm just not sure that the contribution to the Roth at that time makes sense. I think it probably makes more sense to contribute to the traditional, get to retirement, and then focus on making conversions at a lower income tax rate.
Hey, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and put your guys' contact information up.
Perfect. So as I said before, we have actually, let's just yeah, one of our other colleagues, Matt Daniels, actually just chimed in. Matt, for those of you that don't know, we've opened up a new division in our firm where we work with 401k plans, simple plans, and he just referenced and wanted me to remind people that the simple plan now has a Roth component or option as well, which is great. So Matt, thanks for reminding me of that. As I said at the outset, we are doing these every single month. Same, what is this, a third Thursday? Is that what it is, Brittany?
Yep.
Third Thursday at 10 o'clock. Next month, we're going to be talking about long-term care insurance. So we've covered estate planning. We've talked about Medicare planning. If you are in your 50s, 60s, or even into your 70s, and you are wondering whether or not long-term care insurance is something you should be considering, then you're going to want to make sure you join us on May 16th for this conversation. I'm going to talk about the various types of long-term care insurance, the pros, the cons, the costs, all of that stuff. And so I think that'll be a very valuable webinar. But I see that we are up against the clock. We really appreciate all of you for joining us. This webinar series is open to anybody. So those of you that are clients on here, we'd love for you to spread the word, share this with other people just like you. We're blessed to have a phenomenal client base. And if you've got somebody that you think would benefit from hearing these topics, please go ahead and pass the information along to them. Max, Brittany, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate your help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The rest of you have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you very much.